So another team in the Lions division is getting better, whether you like this guy or not. Aaron Banks signed with the Packers, 4 years, $77 million. They are upgrading their offensive line, and news there on Jaire Alexander for them is that we'll see, but as of right now, they're not moving on from him. But again, the GM says we will see what happens before the league year starts at 4 p.m. on Wednesday.
Before we go to Jaire, I want to give Rico the floor here because Banks is his guy with San Francisco. You sad to see him go? What's your view of this? How good of a player in your mind?
I mean, he's a good player, but his replacement was already there in last year's draft, so it was one of those, you're going to save a lot of money. They got to pay Brock Purdy, and they're going young right now. He's still serviceable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to pull the whole, well, he was no good. No, he's good. But the rookie came in, and he got injured. The rookie came in, took his job, and he was never going to get it back.
My guess on Jaire is there's no market for him. Look, there's two problems. If you just look at him as a player, he's one of the 15, 20 best corners in the league, right? The problem, personality. This guy's a total pain in the ass, but he's also, I don't think he's played more than 7 games each of the last 2 seasons. So you'd heard early in the process, they were looking at maybe moving him, getting out of the Jaire Alexander business. Sounds like there might not be a market for such things. If he stays healthy and shuts his mouth, they're better off keeping him. Mm-hmm. So just keep your eye on it. Go ahead, David.
There's a bit of a theme here with the first few stories that I'm going to do here. It is about the league year starting at 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, that's Cooper Kupp because he was on the trade block, but the GM says they're probably going to release him if they can't get a deal before 4 o'clock. Will they be able to find a deal for Cooper Kupp before the league year starts?
No. Get released, and somebody will try to sign him on the cheap. I mean, they don't have any leverage.
I think that was always going to be the answer. They were hoping that maybe somebody, hey, Cooper Kupp's available, but there's a lot of wide receivers who are like, what, he's available? Yeah, take a look at his stat line. And he's got to stay healthy. So, yeah, I think that somebody's going to get him for dirt cheap. Now, for Cooper Kupp, probably a little bit of a slap in the face. They cried broke and you're too old, and wait, you just signed Devontae Adams?
Yeah, but hold on. Here's the problem, right? This is where, like you say, you know what's funny, Rico? We always talk about it. You say a name, people get seduced to the name. But the reality is 2021 is the one year. This guy had the year of years, 145 catches, 1,900 yards, 16 TDs, okay? In the 3 seasons since, he's started 9 games, 12 games, 11 games. He has not crossed 1,000 yards. He has not had more than 6 touchdowns. He is 31 years old. Guess what? At this stage of your career, I think you're playing year to year.
Yeah.
I would never give Cooper Kupp a multi-year deal.
Yeah.
And they pretty much did what the Eagles are doing right now. They thanked him. Thank you for the Super Bowl. We're going to pay you for it. But he has not been the same since. And to stay on that theme, let's get to the Browns situation because they traded for Kenny Pickett.
Why, David?
That isn't the story.
Oh.
The story is that multiple insiders believe that Cleveland will try to acquire Kirk Cousins.
Which bearded bleep hole radio host me has been saying for 6 months.
You're right. But here's the thing, though. They have saying they're not going to get rid of him. He did, however, Kirk Cousins, that is, meet with the owner last week.
Mm-hmm.
So will a decision be made to let him go
I think so.
Before 4 p.m. tomorrow?
Only thing that came out of that meeting, and then I'll shut up, is Arthur Blank said we're going to do what's best for us, and
Correct.
He didn't give him an assurance of that. But Rico, feel free. Take over.
Right there, Mike. We're going to do what's best for us. Like after meeting with the owner, you would feel like, okay, if the owner's like, hey, Kirk, we're going to do everything we can to keep you here, we would have heard that by now. But when all you hear is, I'm going to do what's best for the team, that's the whole, well, you know what? Thanks for the memories. Here's the gold watch. We appreciate how you got, you carried the team until the youngster was ready in Penix. He's not going to be there, David. So, yeah, I do expect him to be released. And then, but it's funny because Cousins, he falls up. He just goes from team to team. He makes money. He's not really great. He's good. I'm going to make up a word. David, he's good as his way to $350 million.
I see what you did there. He
said it all.
So was this a smart move by the Ravens? They brought back Ronnie Stanley, 3 years, $60 million, $20 million per year. Was that a smart move to bring him back? He was, at the time, the most coveted tackle on the market, and then they brought him back.
Go ahead, Rico. And David, you get to have an opinion. He's in your division.
What was the contract?
3 years, $60 million.
I mean, he's a
little old.
I mean, he is, David, but it's one of those positions that if nobody can get around you, then it really doesn't matter. I mean, I look at Trent Williams, and yeah, you're still not getting around him when he's healthy. He's got that old man strength now.
Yeah, he's 30 years old. The expectation was that the Patriots were going to go hard after him. They were going to, so he took less to stay in Baltimore. Yeah. I think it's a smart move by Baltimore.
It is, and for both, because it lowers the expectations a little. I'm sorry, Mike.
No,
and I think he feels like, man, we got the pieces here. Maybe if the tight end catches the ball, I don't want to hear it, we go to the Super Bowl.
Guilty. No, Rico's right. And here's the other thing. I think if you're a player, do you want 25 a year to never win a game again? Or do you want 20 to not have to sell your house, move your family, and you get to play for a team that's going to be in the mix? Look, Ronnie Stanley's been banged up. There's been some injuries. I wouldn't have been shocked if the Ravens simply didn't make him an offer. Sometimes it's just best to stay right where you're at.
So there are a few players here, names that are still left on the free agent list. Will they sign before tomorrow, or will they wait till the league year to start? Amari Cooper? Any value?
No.
Steph Diggs, any value?
Not unless you like crazy.
DeMarcus Lawrence, any value?
Yes.
Okay.
I would look, I love Tank Lawrence. Availability is going to be a skill now, but what kind of deal would he get? But I like DeMarcus Lawrence.
Russell Wilson.
I quit.
Giants.
Nah, dude, just leave me alone.
David, he may come back to your team.
Yep, let's not talk about that. And an interesting one here because he's only 25. He plays cornerback. Asante Samuel Jr. I mentioned him because he was a high draft pick years ago, but he had an injury, and he has not been the same since.
You know what? He may end up in San Francisco because they're going to need somebody in the secondary, and hoping that maybe you can catch a deal with him.
What about Shadoris Lenoris Bedoris?
He's there. Tiamador Lenore.
Whatever. Mr. Garvey is your substitute teacher. A. Ron. Well, I never can remember the kid's name.
It is funny you bring up San Francisco because I want to close out with this for San Francisco because we all know Josh Allen got his giant deal. So Bleacher Report decided to go out there and kind of predict the next deals. It's kind of a giant deal here they're predicted for Brock Purdy. $54 million a year. They predicted 6 years, $324 million.
I mean, it sounds ridiculous. It's the price of doing business. And, David, I'm going to say it again. Ask me this same question in 2-3 years, and it's going to be a bargain.
Yeah, because C.J. Stroud will be – so he may jump him.
Right, so he will be the highest-paid quarterback until the ink dries, and then somebody else is going to go in there and get it. So, yes, it's the price of doing business. It's the price of being one of the 13 people who can actually be a quarterback that can lead you somewhere. You got to pay that price. You may not think he's great. I don't think he's great, but he's better than the alternative of going out there and trying to draft a QB and hoping that you get it right. Because remember, they tried that with Trey Lance, fell on their face. So I think they're kind of, we're good here. Let's just pay him.
I probably just should not say anything because I don't have anything nice to say.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, you're right. I know you're right, so I don't like that. Yeah, you're right. Like, it is what it is. You're stuck.
Right.
You got to pay the guy. You know there's better quarterbacks. You just can't get your hands on any of them.
Right.
And you know the only place to go if you get rid of him is down. You're going to pay the guy.
Right. It's like Goff. Like, I didn't think that Goff was like all of this. Oh, he got his money. Why? Because he's one of the 13 QBs that you don't really have to worry about. They can win you a game.
And he drives a combine.
Real quick, Mike, David, should this person keep his mouth shut because of his situation or because of who he is? But basically, social media, I know you love social media, Mike.
Yeah, no.
But basically, they were talking about the Niners, and they were like, one of the Cowboy beat writers said, the Niners are gutting themselves because they're losing all the people. Micah Parsons chimes in saying, no more rookie QB, LOL, welcome to reality. From the man whose QB is Dak.
Look, it's who he is, man. This is what you get. He's a handful. He's also the closest thing I've seen to a Lawrence Taylor-like edge. This is what you deal with. I got nothing. You're not going to change him. Yes, he should shut his mouth. What am I going to be able to do about it? Zero.
He's always going to talk. He's George Pickens. He's always going to
Right,
talk.
I'm just like, dude, your quarterback
No, he's
is
actually productive, David.
your quarterback is Dak.
Talking about the talking. That's all. The
Okay.
talking. You're right. His quarterback is Dak, and that is in football today.